On the diplomatic front, meanwhile, Europe left yet again feeling blindsided, if not ignored, by efforts between the United States and Russia to obtain a settlement on the war in Ukraine. Following new reports that Washington and Moscow are currently working on a 28-point proposal that would require Kyiv to relinquish territory and significantly reduce not only the size of its army, but also its weapons stocks, Ukraine's European allies warn that they must be included for any peace plan to work. For more on this, I'm joined on the set by our international affairs commentator, Douglas Herbert. Hi, Doug. So,
hi, Aaron.
What do we know about this new plan, yet again done without consulting the Europeans or one of the main stakeholders, Ukraine?
The first thing we know is what we're saying in the headlines about it, right? The U.S.-Russia draft plan for Ukraine. It's not the U.S.-Russia-Ukraine draft plan for Ukraine. So you're absolutely right. Ukraine has been sort of left on the sidelines. It's had no initial input into whatever this plan, when we get the details, is. So what are the details? Well, what it looks like is let's be very clear, this is by some estimates the fourth or even the fifth attempt by Donald Trump. Let's name names here. Let's not, hide or try to obfuscate that Donald Trump has tried to coerce Kyiv into accepting terms heavily favorable to Russia that, from Ukraine's perspective, amount to nothing short of capitulation. The Institute for the Study of War has looked over all of the Western reporting on this plan, because remember, it's still secret. It's not official yet. It hasn't been publicly disclosed. What they have said, the ISW, which has tracked this war battlefield step by battlefield since the beginning, amounts to, as it says, Ukraine's full capitulation, the plan, and sets the conditions for Russia's renewed aggression against Ukraine in the future, near or not so near future. So that sets it up. What does it specifically do? Well, we don't know the details yet, but most of the Western reporting, and it's Western media outlets that we've been looking at here, says that the plan would require Ukrainian forces to withdraw from parts of Donetsk and Luhansk districts in eastern Ukraine, the area known as Donbas, but also to cede territory in the parts of those areas, Donetsk, Luhansk, that it still controls. So that's one part of the plan. It would also call for freezing the rest of that front line in the south. So freezing it, giving what the ISW would say is advantageous positions, especially in the east, to Russian soldiers who remain in that area. The plan would prohibit Ukraine from receiving foreign long-range weapons. It would require Ukraine to cap the size of its military at half of its current strength, that is, cut it by half. It would abandon altogether certain categories of weaponry. And it would also, apparently, according to some reporting, require Russian to be an official state language in the areas that it controls. These are all obviously no-goes for Ukraine. At least almost all these points are no-goes, and it does amount to surrender for them. So that's why I say that from Ukraine's perspective and from the perspective of the European allies you were mentioning, this plan is yet another attempt, and let's say it again, by the Trump administration and Russia to coerce Ukraine and force capitulation on Ukraine.
Now, speaking of the Trump administration and its objectives, at least with this proposal, the U.S. president has flip-flopped on his approach to the war in Ukraine on several occasions. So how likely is he to embrace this Kremlin-friendly deal more than any of the others that he has also expressed support for in the past?
Yeah, we don't know is the easy answer to that question. You're right, flip-flopping in the sense that, yes, the general pattern has been that he has been wanting to do deals with Russia, these lucrative financial deals, Russia's business ventures, get Russia back on board, transactional, in business, in the economy with the U.S., which is why most of the time he has tended to heavily lean towards Putin. Doesn't mean all the time. He recently slapped sanctions on Russia's two biggest oil companies, Lukoil and Rosneft. So sometimes he does flip. It is unlikely that he, from this standpoint right now, it's unlikely that he is going to completely walk away from this plan because he trusts his negotiator, Steve Witkoff, and Witkoff is the one who met with Putin's envoy to hash it out. I will mention, though, what's notable about it, it ignores a lot of things that are very important to Kyiv, things like the alleged war crimes committed by Russia throughout the course of this war, now entering almost its fourth year, and also ignoring the kidnappings of Ukrainian children, the abductions, by some estimates 21,000 Ukrainian children. Nothing mentioned there at all. And the daily, lest we forget, the daily missile and drone strikes, the barrage wave after wave on, let's underscore the word, civilian infrastructure almost all the time, despite Russia's disingenuous denials that they are hitting only strategic/military targets. All of these things, as far as we know at this point, are overlooked or totally ignored by the 28-point draft peace plan, still undisclosed, still not public.
And perhaps making the prospect for peace then no less closer than it was prior to this deal. Doug Herbert, thank you very much.